Welcome to Financial Footsteps, candid conversations with financial leaders, the podcast that takes you deep into the minds of the masters behind the numbers. Join host Chad Dean as he connects with financial leaders as they share their journeys so that we can gain valuable insight from their failures and triumphs. Get ready for candid conversations, behind-the-scenes anecdotes, and practical wisdom that will transform the way you think about your career in finance. Put down the balance sheet and listen in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Financial Footsteps, where we explore the backgrounds and careers of financial leaders for the benefit of those who want to follow in their footsteps. My name is Chad Dean, your host. I've been a recruiter for 27 years, and I am the owner and CEO of Integrated Management Resources, a Phoenix-based executive recruiting firm established 33 years ago. Integrated is a sponsor of this podcast. I'm going to ad-lib for a second. I often get asked to talk more about the podcast and the meaning behind it. And when I talk with a lot of leaders, they say, boy, I wish I knew this when I was younger. And so we create this for students. We create this for people that are just beginning their careers and they want to achieve the executive title, but they really have no roadmap for themselves. They don't have any mentors to tell them, take these steps, do these moves. And so that is the purpose of this podcast. And I feel very honored to be able to do this. I am very excited about our guest today, John Mallouk. John has had, I usually say a long career in accounting and finance, but John has had a relatively new career in accounting and finance. But I still know that he is full of wisdom, and I know that this will be really incredible because of his short tenure. So welcome, John.
Thanks, Chad. Good to be here.
Absolutely. So the audience always wants to know a little bit about the personal side of things. That's what helps connect you to the audience. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, any particular hobbies that you have, and please proceed.
Yeah, sure. I'm originally from New York in Long Island. Grew up there in idyllic beach town. Grew up playing sports, sailing.
Which town?
Huntington.
Okay.
Yeah, Huntington, North Shore of Long Island.
Yep.
So like 30-ish minutes away from the city, easy access to the mountains in Vermont and New Hampshire. So it's felt good proximity, close to everything, fun that a little, a growing kid likes. From there, moved down to Mississippi for school. Went to the University of Mississippi, stayed there 4 years, graduated, got a job at KPMG, and moved to Boston for 6 years, and then I moved here 2 years ago. So yeah, it's a little bit about me. My hobbies, like to hike, bit of an outdoor cat. I try to hike about once a week. I like to off-road, trying to find a swimming hole, that kind of thing.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
Maybe you found some places that I don't know about. I'm a native, been around here a long time, but haven't found them all. So maybe we could share that afterwards. We don't want to, what do you call it, hotspot it, where we put it on here and everybody goes and shows up.
Can't put it on blast too much, right?
Yeah. We used to be able to stop by the Horseshoe Bend up there, and you'd literally just park in the dirt and walk over there and take a look down. And now there's a giant parking lot. They charge you for parking, and there's 10,000 people there, and they had to put up a fence because people were falling off.
Yeah.
And unfortunately perishing. So thank you, Instagram, for that. But so it's no longer like a little local thing where in Arizona you just hop up there and take a look.
It's more of a walk. Yeah. It's funny. One of my colleagues at CB actually parachuted into the Grand Canyon from Horseshoe Bend.
Whoa!
So, just hopped the fence. He's a big base jumper, so he just jumped on in.
Cool. How did he get out?
He had a friend, I guess, with a boat
With a
and hiked
boat?
out.
Okay. Because I've been down there fishing down below, and you can actually hear the people up above talking.
Oh, really? It's I
The
guess
voices
it's the echo.
travel that much, and
Yeah.
it's way up there, and you can kind of see them up there, but you can definitely hear the voices. So that's a good story. We don't want to put out his name though, because the Park Service might be after him. Okay, so tell me about Ole Miss. Like, what was that decision? How'd that come about?
Yeah, and I think at the time I just wanted that big Southern football school experience, and you went down there, visited all the SEC schools, and Oxford, Mississippi is just like a cute little Southern town. It has like the balconies on all the buildings, kind of similar to like a New Orleans style. Great spot for meeting people and networking. Great football, obviously, and just a fun place to be. So it kind of took my interest and once I visited, I was in. And through that, though, like, met some of my best friends, found my way into the finance accounting route, really had some good professors, good mentors there that guided me in the right direction, once I made that decision. But at the time when I was choosing schools, I was more looking for the experience and, getting out of New York.
Did they accept you down there, being a New Yorker?
It took some time, but yeah, it's definitely, some cultural shifts for sure.
Well, you had to get over the stigma or the stereotypes, right, of the New Yorker and stuff like that. If you work with a lot of New Yorkers, you realize they're really good people, right? But there can be this stereotype of, oh, they're short-tempered and they don't have a lot of patience and stuff like that. So, well, that's good. So I'm glad you had a good experience down there, and you kind of alluded to it. What is the actual genesis of your interest in accounting?
Yeah, so funny enough, I went into school, being an engineering major. I was always geared more towards the math and sciences. I'm dyslexic, so that's like a natural progression into things you're good at, which was the numbers, right? But from there, I took my first physics class. College physics is a way different animal than I was doing in high school, and just wasn't able to hack it in the engineering world. So from there, I went to business undeclared. Had to take my first accounting class, and I was doing really well in it, but I didn't really understand how well I was doing. My professor at the time, Lou Burney, took me aside in her office one day and was like, you're acing my class. You're top of this class. You're not an accounting major. Like, why? Like, what are you doing? I was kind of just like, oh, well, I don't know. I didn't really know I liked this. And I like it now. I'm good at it. And to me, it kind of felt like, having a way to look back and gauge performance, as well as like having a map to future success, right? That's what kind of intrigued me about it. And, thank goodness, she took me into her office and kind of laid out this path for me. She's like, here's what you're going to do. You're going to get your CPA license. You're going to pass my class. You're going to work for a Big Four firm. And after that, you're going to have the flexibility to do whatever you want to do. And you can figure it out after that. And I'm like, that sounds good to me. Let's go do that. So
sure,
went after that path. And, Ole Miss is a great accounting school, top 10, I think, in the country for public accounting. Great pipelines into the Big Four. So I really couldn't have been in a better spot to be set up for that path and that success early on in the career.
What was the engineering that you were going for?
Civil engineering.
Okay.
Yeah.
I started out electrical engineering at the University of Arizona. And let's just say I got into, they don't do it now anymore, but Fortran and Pascal is what they were teaching in 1990 for electrical engineers, and that was the programming language, and it just threw me for a loop, just right out of the program. And then I found my way into biology, but biology doesn't lead to the Big Four. So, well, what a happened circumstance for you that set you on this career. So, without her telling you about the Big Four and that, you may have, who knows where you would have ended up. That's fascinating.
Yeah, I was very focused on going the engineering route, going into school and through my whole first year, really at Ole Miss, and having that conversation with her really opened my eyes to what a career in finance and accounting could be. It was just a good setup for success, and really glad she was looking out for her students in that way.
That's really nice. So, are there any other accounting finance people in your family at all?
No. My mom was a kindergarten teacher and then a stay-at-home mom, and my dad was an entrepreneur. He ran a textile and Christmas decoration import business growing up, and that's I think that's where I get most of my entrepreneurial spirit from is him, and seeing that operation out of our house.
So what did your parents say when he came to him and said, "I'm going to be an accountant"?
I don't remember the reaction, but I imagine it's positive, right? Like, I think they were worried about me not knowing what I'm going to do after, taking away the engineering major. I think they're proud of me now.
Do you have siblings?
I do. We have an older brother and an older sister. My brother's in Atlanta. My sister's in LA.
So you're the baby.
Yeah, by a long shot.
Gotcha. What do they do?
And my brother sells e-commerce software.
Okay.
Down in Atlanta, and my sister is the chief strategy officer at the Broad Museum in LA.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so they both went kind of artsy. Well, my brother, before he was selling software, he was actually a musician touring the country with the big punk rock bands out of Long Island, like Brand New, Taking Back Sunday, and my sister was big into the art world. So I think that it's funny how they had more of an artistic start to their career, and I definitely did not.
Right. Well, sales is very entrepreneurial, right? So
Yeah,
just being a salesperson, you have to be entrepreneurial. You have to think outside the box, be creative. So maybe that's where your brother got a lot of that from. So that's interesting.
for sure.
So tell me about the process of interviewing with the Big Four. Tell me, how did that go?
Yeah, the Big Four interviews, they happened on campus at Ole Miss. Kind of apply for at first, they bring you into an office, like a setup office in on campus, and yeah, they're really just looking to get a feel for your level of interest in accounting, your basic understanding of what you're learning in your classes. And it's funny the way I got KPMG. The most casual conversation I had really. We talked most of the time about his wife went to my high school growing up. So we just talked mostly about Huntington and growing up there and Huntington football. And thankfully I got that opportunity. They let me pick my city to intern in. And everyone in my family has had a history either working or living in Boston at some point in their lives. And I thought at that time I was like, this is my turn to go experience Boston. So interned up there with KPMG and got a job offer after the internship. And in between the internship and actually starting, I went back for a year to do a master's degree in accounting at Babson College, a small entrepreneurship school in Wellesley, Massachusetts. And there, just further progressed my interest in entrepreneurial mindset and spirit there. They actually, if you take a certain class there, like they really force you to go through with starting a company up until the point of like actually creating it. So making a business plan, putting out, pitching in front of angel investors. It's really an intensive program there that gave me a lot of early on experience into small companies and what it's like to start your own.
That's cool. There aren't too many accounts that have that entrepreneurial background and training, so that's cool.
Yeah, it's always interested me.
I actually one of the titles of one of my earlier podcasts is the entrepreneurial CFO, and so he just was the same thing, startups, and then became a CFO. Tell me about interviewing with who was the most intimidating interviewing for the Big Four.
For the Big Four, it was such a long time ago. I wouldn't really say any of them were intimidating. They each have their own little personality, right? The Big Four, I think. Me and KPMG just had a natural fit, personality-wise and culture-wise, where there's more I think when you go through that process, you just have a right fit when you're talking to the person interviewing you, and it just felt like that was the most natural conversation I had.
So, and I'm asking these things because you're the closest that I've interviewed to being in the Big Four as far as from a timing standpoint. How do you prepare for those interviews?
For those early on interviews,
Yeah.
it's a good question. I think just going in and being yourself. I think that's really what they want to see. You can't be too nervous going to these things. You can't be precious about it and put all this weight on it. And really just do good in your classes and don't be like overly technical in the interview. They're not going to ask like super technical questions, and just be yourself and be confident, be casual about it.
They want to know that you're a hard worker, that you're a quick learner, right?
Exactly. They
Because
want to
it's
know you
all
can
going to be
learn.
new.
Yeah, because coming in as an internship, you're not going to know everything. In fact, you're mostly going to know nothing
Mhm.
going into the job on what the job is, right? And if you're going to a top program and you're interviewing at the Big Four, they know you're smart already, and they just want to get a feel for your work ethic, get a feel for are you a good cultural fit for the firm, and are you going to put forward your best efforts.
Yeah. And the key is the internship as well. That's how you get your job generally.
For sure. And that is like just maintaining a positive attitude throughout the whole thing, because you're going to be working busy season hours like I was. The 80-hour weeks will be daunting, and they're real. But I think just having a positive attitude through the whole thing. Chris Rock at one of his specials had a good quote. Like sometimes you're lead singer and sometimes you're playing tambourine. And when you're an intern, you're definitely playing tambourine. However, no one wants to see an angry tambourine player when they're up there.
No, you could take over.
Yeah.
And throw the tambourine.
Yeah.
That's funny. So, but I have seen people intern at PwC and then go to EY or something just because it wasn't a cultural fit. But most of the job offers come from that intern class, right?
Yeah, for sure. Mine was an externship. It was mid school year, and it counted towards your class credits. So
Hmm.
they wanted us to have the busy season experience doing the winters, doing the year end audits to really get a feel for. I think that was to get a really good feel for your work ethic, because that's really the most important thing coming in. Like, are you willing to learn? Are you willing to have a good attitude throughout the whole process, and be a resource to them? But yeah, it was a really good experience. I think that's where most of my work ethic today really comes from, is that a KPMG instills in you. You're gonna be learning the basics, right? You're gonna be learning, cash flow, income statement, balance sheet, and how they all interact. You're gonna learn the ins and outs of auditing. I was in the banking and financial service practice, so I learned the inner workings of banks, lending. I audited, mutual funds, private equity funds, VC. So I got a good understanding about how all those things worked as well. But yeah, the work ethic they put in you is really the takeaway I got from all that.
Do you believe the work ethic was in you and they just taught you to bring it out of you?
I mean, yeah, maybe. I think I've always had a strong work ethic. I feel that maybe I'm not the smartest guy in the world. Maybe I'm, not the best person, right? I'm definitely not the smartest guy, is what I'm trying to say. But my competitive advantage has always been my capacity to work and learn. And I think that's where I shine brightest, is where I'm, able to, put my head down and actually grind.
That's something I really try to dive into on this podcast, is where does work ethic originate? Can you teach work ethic after a certain age? That's what I'm always trying to get at, because I grew up with a strong work ethic, because I grew up with basically not a whole lot of money, with not a lot of wealth. Mom working 2 or 3 jobs. If I wanted money, I had to get a job. And I learned early on that the harder I worked, the more money I made, because I happened to be in situations where I literally got paid for my work, not just per hour. It was output that I was getting paid for. And so that that is kind of what created my work ethic. I didn't really have any mentors other than my mom. I mean, my mom's working 3 jobs. Tell me, that is tremendously hard work, something I don't even know if I could do. So I'm always trying to delve into, because generally all executives have a very strong work ethic.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
You don't hear any of them that are like, oh yeah, I just slacked off and got lucky. So I'm always trying to figure out the root of that hard work. Where does that come from? Does it come from parenting? Does it come from some childhood experience? Or truly, could KPMG teach that? Or did you see people that fell out because they didn't have the work ethic?
People definitely fall out, right? I think it's the question of nature versus nurture. Even, like, yeah, I think my parents instilled in me a strong work ethic. I saw how hard my dad worked with his own business, and you went through a hard time in the financial crisis. I saw the weight that can bring on a family business. And I always wanted to have the goal of, I never want to have to worry about money. I never want to have to worry about job security. I want to be able to work as hard as I possibly can, and prove doubters wrong, right? Like, I had a learning difference in school. I wasn't great at reading and writing in school, and I wanted to prove that I can be successful regardless of that, and I'm going to work as hard as I possibly can to make sure that happens. I think after the CPA exams, I got through those. I said, that's not enough. Let's go for the CFA, and I'm on level 3 now, and
Why not?
I'm always just constantly working, man. I never want to be complacent in myself. That's where I feel uncomfortable, is when I'm starting to feel complacent.
Have you ever felt complacent?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy where I'm at now. I think it's a good thing to be happy with what you're doing and where you're at in your career, but also knowing that there's more, and knowing that you can always achieve more.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been complacent. I just can't be. I need to be working all the time. My father retired at the age of 53. I'll be there in 1 year, and I'm thinking, there's no way I could retire. And what would I do with myself? And so, no, that's fantastic. So, the root of your work ethic is in your childhood, part of your parenting, and part of you having to overcome, the not being the smartest person, I guess is the way you put it, right? So,
I mean, I have a learning difference, right? It's
Yeah.
hard for me to read and write, but the numbers always made sense to me.
Got you. So what was that experience like for you at KPMG? Was it just drinking from a fire hose, just working 80-hour weeks? Did everybody go in with, and everybody's on the same team bonding because you guys have that shared, I'm going to call it a brotherhood. I'm sure there's a better word for it, but everybody's in it. Everybody's working 80 hours a week. Everybody's experiencing the same thing. Was there a bond there with the people that were in your same like growth class?
Yeah, sure. There's some camaraderie there. I don't keep in touch with a lot of the people there, but some colleagues of mine I still keep in touch through LinkedIn and phone calls even every now and then. And because you are going through it all together, and it's really hard work. Sometimes you're eating 3 meals a day there and sleeping 4 hours a night, depending on where you're at. The banks that I worked on were accelerated filers, so you're grinding twice as much as the people who are working on smaller manufacturers in the Boston area. But yeah, there's some camaraderie for sure.
Yeah. So at what point did you realize that you wanted to move on?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to pursue more of the finance route, and I wanted to see transactions and M&A and what the IPO process was like. So started looking around at what else was out there. The banking practice at KPMG is it's great, but the long hours for extended periods of time was getting to me. So I wanted to like mix it up at least. I'm going to be working these hours. I want to mix it up and get more experience in other areas. So I started looking into consulting and a branch out of auditing, and I found a smaller boutique at the time boutique firm called Williams Marston, and they kind of pitched like, hey, these are all ex Big Four people like you, and they wanted to get that M&A and IPO readiness experience just like you. They have a long list of clients and projects you can be working on. It was a small firm at the time. It was like, I think I joined and it was like 30 people. Then they quickly expanded after that. So interviewed there, and that interview process was a lot more technical. they asked out of the blue, not really prepared for it. Like, can you tell me about how you implemented 606 and in different ASE standards at different companies you worked on, and just kind of putting you on the spot like that, very technical accounting questions. But it got through there, and it just seemed like a good experience. Very small firm. I can get to see a lot of different areas, not just banking and financial institutions. Worked on media companies there. Worked on software. Worked on biotech, healthcare. There was a virtual racing simulating company I worked on for like when NASCAR went virtual for the pandemic. Yeah, it was a good experience. I'm glad I found my way there.
How'd you find your way there?
Recruiter.
Oh, see, I'm always looking for that for the recruiter. So the recruiter contacted you, and they were working for William Marston.
Yeah, they're contracted out.
Yeah.
They led me to their controller over there, who was also doubling as an in-house like HR type person.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, it was a small company, and they grew through acquisition shortly after I joined. So the firm got a lot bigger. But yeah, that's how I found the job. Recruiters.
Did you at this point have a passion for accounting? Let me say, do you even have one right now?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I wouldn't say, passion's a strong word. I think that I have a passion for improving upon a process and improving upon a business. And that's really what we're doing at CB is where I get to flourish with that. And I also love helping small businesses. That's really my...
Cheers.
Yeah, I keep on doing that. It's really where the passion comes from me, is being able to help a business, a team, a process, and see it through to its most efficient version of itself. But the accounting part of it, I wouldn't know if that's a passion of mine. It's more of putting it into action.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, that's huge, and so many companies need that. They don't know what they're doing. So, so tell me, at Williams Marston, was that remote?
Yeah, it was a fully remote job. I took it during the pandemic.
Are they based out of Boston?
They are.
But everybody was remote.
Everybody was remote. It was during the pandemic, so
yeah,
went fully virtual.
Virtual hire, interview, everything like that.
Yeah, fully. I think Maggie at Williams Marston, who was a controller, and I think she changed roles, but one time I met her, she dropped off my laptop at my apartment, and that was the first first interaction with Williams Marston. Completely virtual interview process.
Strange times.
It was a strange time for sure.
So what did you learn there? And then how did that kind of shape where you wanted to go next?
Yeah, that really helped me have an outlet for working with small businesses and my passion for process improvement and helping companies that need good financial services and accountants. You really had a broad industry experience. I didn't just have to work on just banks. Now it was now seeing an M&A deal between biotech companies working on an IPO readiness project for a media company. Those kinds of projects where they're short sprints. It's still long hours, but at least there's an end goal at the end of it, and you have something you can point back to that's not just a PDF file that no one is going to look at, like an audit report. You can actually hang your hat on something that felt good to me, at least. And yeah, just seeing that M&A process and an IPO readiness project from start to finish, I think is a really valuable experience, and that's what excited me about it. That's what eventually led me to CB, is that broad experience and having that software background.
Were you having to do a lot of modeling?
Yeah, financial modeling. Having to convert non-audit ready financial statements into quarterly auditable statements that are GAAP compliant, SOX compliant, because a lot of companies don't have that knowledge of what do you need after you go public. It's a long list, and a lot of companies aren't ready for it. And getting them up to speed on it, sometimes they'll have closes on their financials that are 10, 15 days. You have to get that down to 3. And having models in place that are going to help them do that and quickly was a lot of what I was doing.
Did you do any transactional type modeling, valuations, things along those lines?
We had a valuation team that I worked with a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That valuation knowledge I have is mostly from the CFA program, and putting that into to action. Once I left Williams Marston, but yeah, we worked closely with the valuation teams.
Okay.
And due diligence teams at different Big Four firms.
Right. So coming from the accounting side of things and being an audit at KPMG, do you feel that your modeling skills were sharp enough from the work that you were doing at KPMG, or did you have to really bring your level up, your game up?
I think I really leveled up through mentors at Williams Marston. I think the Big Four firms, unless you're working in valuation and deal making, their deals team, you're not really learning the ins and outs of financial valuation and company intercompany transactions between like M&A deals. You're not really seeing a lot of that. Williams Marston really taught you a lot of that. One of my mentors, Dat Lee, who's now running his own accounting firm, really taught me a lot of the Excel skills, a lot of the modeling skills that I'm using today. So I think having a good mentor at that company was really a godsend to help me prepare for the next phase of my career.
Mm-hmm. Transaction services aren't as popular now. There's been a lot of layoffs, right, because of the environment that we're in. But was that ever an option to you when you were coming in? Did you look at that and say, well, maybe I'm not interested in that, and then later on learn that that's where you wanted to be, or where it could have benefited you?
Yeah, they have the opportunity to transfer in and out of different departments at the Big Four firms, and I looked at a deals team at RSM for a while. I think the broad experience is what I was looking for. I wanted to be more of a generalist, not just a specialist in one area. So I mean, that's really what made the decision to go the route that I did.
Gotcha. All right, so you're at Williams Marston and you're just doing your job. And by the way, for everybody listening in that hasn't looked up your LinkedIn, they should, because we're talking about a very short time frame. You were an auditor with KPMG, if I have this right, from your LinkedIn, from 2017 to September 2020. Does that sound accurate?
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. So that's 3.5 years. And then you go to Williams Marston, September 2020 to April of 2022. Tell me about that time frame and what was going on with you and the decision to leave and how in the world did Arizona come into this?
Yeah, I mean, I was really enjoying the East Coast. I grew up there. I was loving Boston. I have a lot of family history there. It's a great town. I'm a big Boston sports fan. I loved the job too. I loved working for Williams Marston, learning a ton, and I think I would have continued to learn. And I wasn't really looking for any other particular opportunity at the time. However, I had a childhood friend who had come out to Arizona to work for a tech startup out here called CB, and he was one of my best friends growing up. We stayed in touch often. He started talking to me about, hey, what do you think about Arizona? But just come out and see the company. come out and we'll visit, we'll go hiking. And I'll
Did he
show
bring
you.
you out in the wintertime?
I think the first time I came out was in the winter. Yeah.
Yeah, smart move.
Yeah, we went hiking, we hung out, and he, brought me into the office one day. I worked remote from the CB office and got to meet, the team and the CEO for the first time, and really just loved the environment. We're playing, rap music and on the company speakers. They get, lunch delivered every day. Everyone's in t-shirt and flip-flops, but I can tell all these people are very smart and very, killers at what they do. It's a lot of engineers there. They're very, intelligent people. And I loved the business concept on what they're trying to do. Procurement, software for manufacturers.
Just tell everybody what they do. So,
Yeah, sure. CB builds APIs for manufacturers to sell direct to consumer. Typically, the consumer is large real estate funds or home warranty companies, contractors even.
An example would be I just had to buy AC units for my home, and I had Trains previously. I'll go ahead and throw a name out there, but Trains lasted great. They did a great job for 20 years for me. So I was like, well, I want Trains. Well, it turns out there's only certain companies that sell Train. I don't know if they have contracts with Train or what it is, but you can't just go to any. It seemed like any AC company and get Trains. So now Train is going to have the ability through CB to sell direct to me.
Yeah, I'll give you an example. We don't use Trade, but we've talked to them. Our HVAC partner is Carrier. So if you wanted to buy Carrier HVAC and you can use CB, you go through our labor network. You have a contractor order through CB for you. Usually at compressed pricing, and they'll get it delivered straight from either distribution or manufacturer, depending on where you're at. Come and install it for you.
Well, that's going to throw a wrench into the private equity companies that are trying to do all these AC company roll-ups, right? Because if you guys are going direct to consumer, that just changes the whole concept of the business. So that's fascinating. That's very disruptive.
Yeah, we're trying to be in the supply chain as it is today, while also just being sure we're being transparent about where you're getting your assets from in your home.
Okay, so they talked you into coming to Arizona.
Yeah, so it wasn't an overnight decision. Kept on working at Williams Marston for another year about, and eventually they said like, hey, we're looking for a guy to really step up into this CFO role and manage the finances of this company. It's at that time, and my friend Marco, who was the number 2 at this company, you kind of really laid it out for me like, listen, this is your kind of be your path here, and I think you'd be a great fit. And if you're willing to move to Arizona, we'd love to have you out. And came a few more times and visited. I met with the whole leadership team, which is kind of like, I guess, my interview process, if you can call it that. I remember it turned into really just a whiteboarding session. It's just kind of like one after another. Each member of leadership kind of came in and we had a conversation. Again, super casual, but it was all about the business and all about efficiencies and process improvement and where we can do better. How I think I can help the company, and just ended up just whiteboarding for hours at the CP office. Because of some leadership is out of town, we would go out afterwards, and ended up that I was at a casino with the CEO and the rest of leadership here in Arizona. I forget which one, but I remember it wasn't my idea, but I was just at this bar having a drink, and somebody said like, "Hey, we're going to the casino." And I'm like, "Okay, I guess we're going." And I just
You're
remember,
a big gambler?
I'm not.
Okay.
But I was along for the ride at that point, right?
Most accountants aren't, because they know numbers, right?
Yeah. The rules of
odds are against you.
the rules of statistics have not been overturned. But somehow just ended up at this casino. I remember thinking like, okay, you're going to this thing, you're still interviewing for this job, really, and just you can't leave down. That's the only thing. you can leave up, you can leave even, just can't leave down. But,
right.
Yeah. Just it was a
lot of pressure.
Fun time. Ended up winning a couple $100 and
what game?
Worked out. Blackjack.
Yeah. That's one of the best games out there if you're going to try to win money.
Yeah. It's a fun story about my interview process at CB.
So, did you have any mentors that you consulted about taking this job? Were you nervous about it? Did you have second thoughts? How much wrangling did you have to do in your own head?
Yeah, I mean, a lot. It's a huge move, right? I think
Right.
it's the biggest move I've made so far. I always liked, kind of immersing myself in different cultures and kind of throwing myself in deep water. I think that's part of the reason I went to Mississippi and again to Boston, where I didn't really know many people. So the idea of Arizona really was intriguing to me. I'm an outdoor person. It's the easiest access to the outdoors I've ever had. Cool company. Obviously the kind of work I like doing. I saw the blank canvas in front of me of what this could be. So that got me really excited. Yeah, I mean, it was just a big move. And I remember thinking, like, I need to, talk to my brother and sister. I need to talk to, my mentors, dad. Marco's obviously a big mentor, but he worked at CV, right? So I had to kind of confide elsewhere. Talk to some of my brother's friends who work in public accounting, who are, partners there. And I think the real thing that helped me was like, I think I just have to take this risk. I think that's the thing I kept on saying to myself was like, this isn't just come up every day, every year. This is like something that is unique, and all you've ever wanted in your life, John, is opportunity, and now is your time to kind of go seize it. That's what I did, and I'm happy I made that jump.
I'm sure you are. The accounting professor that took you aside and told you if you go to the Big Four, you could basically write your ticket. I believe in that wholeheartedly. And that is a great place for anybody that's thinking about achieving the higher levels. That is such a great training ground. And I truly believe that, let's just say you took the risk and it didn't work out. It's not like you wouldn't land on your feet again. Right?
No,
It's and the fact that you took that risk says a lot about you.
Yeah.
And that's that entrepreneurial spirit that you learned from your dad.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, my dad, my brother too, and he was going the rock star route. You only get a certain window of opportunity, and that's really all you can ask for. And it's at that point, it's up to you on what you want to do with it. But yeah, I remember it being a very tough decision, and having to kind of bet on myself that, this is something that you are well qualified to do. You're still young. If it doesn't work out, you still have the opportunity to go do whatever it is you want to do. But this is what you want to do right now. And this is the best thing you have in front of you. Go chase it, go pursue it.
So for the benefit of our listeners, I was talking to a CFO this morning who said his daughter was graduating and going after her CPA. And I said, what I have learned from interviewing executives and CFOs, the quickest route to the CFO title is to go Big Four, to then go into either capital markets or investment banking or something along those lines, what you did, and then go into industry, right? So you played it perfectly.
Somehow. I didn't have that in mind at the time.
Well, let's just put it this way. You found this particular job through your network, right?
Yeah, you got to shake a lot of hands. That's for sure. I had a good network in Boston. I've always been, really good at making friends in different places, immersing myself in the cultures, right? So I had a longtime friend come to Arizona that was in a position to introduce me to this opportunity. And at that point, it was kind of on me to chase it and seize it.
I think what a lot of people can learn from you also is maybe if you are a little bit more introverted, that it's okay to take risks, to move to other places, to meet new people, to try new things. That risk is worth it, actually, because look what it got you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You should be uncomfortable, I think. I think it's good to be uncomfortable. It's where growth happens.
It's a fascinating journey that you've had so far, that just decisions you made took you to where you are. And that risk side of it is so important because too many people are risk averse.
Yeah, and you can't be. I know it's like a typical thing of accountants and finance professionals to be risk averse, but you really sometimes you have to bet on yourself to really propel yourself to that next level.
Sure. Have you had any leadership experience? Have you managed people?
Yeah. I was a senior at KPMG when I left, so I managed an audit team there, and a couple of my clients while I was at Williams Marston was like interim revenue officer, interim controller roles. So you would inherit teams there. That's an interesting dynamic, right? Because you're kind of the outsider. Everyone knows you're the consultant. Yeah, well, yeah. Wouldn't say you're the bad guy.
Shark.
Yeah, sure.
Coming in to cut our jobs.
Sure. But everyone knows you're the consultant, right? And really being able to build trust in that environment, you really have to be the pace setter. I think you have to work alongside them, and whether it's taking something off someone's plate that's on your team because they have plans that night or something, like, oh, I'll handle this tonight. Always like having that smile on your face and not like telling people what to do, but you are the one who is going to do it. And it's kind of builds that culture of, oh, if he's doing this, then it's kind of expected of me too, right? Like, it's kind of just it's a way to, I think it's through osmosis, have that culture permeate through your team of, well, he's working this hard, like I'm probably expected to be doing this too.
Lead by example.
Exactly.
So not being in the Big Four, I was not in the Big Four. My thought of how leadership is built at the Big Four is almost like the military. Like, you kind of just have to do it, right? Because it's your job and it's expected. Obviously, you can't get court-martialed, but is it similar at KPMG or not? Let's not single out KPMG, but at the Big Four, do you think that they are good developers of leaders at the Big Four?
Yeah, they definitely give you the opportunity to. I think it's an interesting question we talked about. That was, is leadership something that is innate, or is it something that can be trained and learned? I think it's a combination of both, right? I think everyone has the capacity to. I think that what you do with that opportunity to lead is up to you. And I think they definitely put you in that environment where if you're a leader, you can go ahead and hone those skills there.
I don't know if anybody's, well, no, I do believe people are born a natural leader, but I think it does take the right opportunity, the right situations to allow people to blossom and grow, but then having mentors to teach you how, right? So
yeah,
what's your vision going forward for your group? You're going to grow your group, I assume. What's your vision for the culture for your group?
Yeah, I mean, the culture of the finance team at CB is going to be that of CB. I think I learned that pretty early on. And that's a culture where, everyone's killers at what they do. They're technically proficient. They are, motivated. They're hard workers with none of the pretentiousness, right? Being able to have that radical candor of, going to whoever at the company, myself, the CEO, and top engineer at the company, and raising a concern or patting them on the back or whatever it is. It's more of a flat structure there. So having that, staying humble and leaving that emotion and the emotion at the door is going to be important. And I think through that hiring process, it's a lot different than inheriting a team, right? It's a completely different animal. It's different skill set, different muscles you have to flex. I hired someone early on, lower level at the company, turned out to be not a great cultural fit. And that's really why I learned that the culture at your company is just as important as their technical ability and their past background. That's really the moral of that story.
Do you feel that you, now having gone through that, do you feel that you can detect culture fit better?
Yeah, I think that takes time at the company, right? I've been at CV for 2 years now. And yeah, I think so. There's definitely questions you can ask during the interview process that bring out of someone's personality a lot easier and kind of gets through those barriers, not just like technical questions. Like, one I love to ask that a colleague gave me was, you're given an elephant, you can't sell it or give it away. What do you do with it? And it's kind of this disarming question for sure, because I'm definitely not prepared for it. And the elephant's kind of a metaphor for massive responsibility. Do they try and figure out ways to profit from the elephant? They try and figure out ways to get rid of it. Do they build a barn? There's no right or wrong answers, but it kind of gives you the peek into their mindset of like how they think about responsibility.
I truly believe, and this is just maybe me being cynical and hiring a ton of people over my career, I think people are good at masking. They can, and if I give away too much in the beginning, they can mimic my culture. But then once they start, the true colors can come out. So yes, it is. You absolutely have to hire for culture, because if they're not matching your work ethic and they're not matching the vibe of the company, it's going to be extremely disruptive.
Yeah.
And so that's the key. How do you pull out people's culture in the interview process? Because you'll find out real quick once they start.
For sure. I think you got to do that from asking, disarming questions. You really get a feel for someone's personality that they definitely did not prepare for. Because people can have, preloaded answers to common interview questions, and like you said, look really good and kind of match that energy you're giving off of in the interview.
Sure. So what's long term for you? Have you thought about that?
Long term for me, man, I mean, I'm just focused on what we're doing at CB and growing this company. And, I definitely didn't see myself here 5 years ago. So I think I'm just, staying focused on what I'm doing now. It's, that's really what I'm trying to do is just grind and wait for an opportunity to pop up. If it's there and it's presented to me and if I'm willing to seize it, then sure. But if right now I'm just focused on CB and what we're doing here.
What's the difference between being a consultant and working actually in the industry?
It's a good question. You consultant, you're kind of tied to different projects, but you're not necessarily tied to the company and having that emotional tie to it. Like I feel personally responsible for CB's success. I don't know if I ever had that from one of my clients nearly as much. Definitely to a certain extent, right? I want my work product to be the best it could possibly be. I want them to be successful in their IPO. I want them to be successful in this deal. But having that massive responsibility of, whether this company is successful or not, I don't have that that weight when I was a consultant. When I work at in industry, I think you have more of that feeling of responsibility.
But that's why a lot of people want to go to industry, so that they feel more connected to their work product.
Yeah, more passionate for sure.
Right. So, what do you suggest to people that are going in to interview for their first industry job? What kind of suggestions do you have for them?
I mean, I think you just gotta, one, you already, if you're getting the interview, you already know you're on paper what they're looking for. I think you just have to be yourself and really gauge the communication style between the leadership team you're interviewing with. Is there differences in opinion on strategy questions? You got to make sure you're aligned with the company strategy if you're taking a leadership role like that. You're just having preloaded questions that you want to ask the company and making sure that it aligns with your vision for your career, and making sure that are these people you can work with day in and day out passionately? Because especially if you're joining a small company, you're all going to have that weight and that passion to grow. So I think just being yourself and being casual about it, and also having a goal in mind of figuring out if this is the right fit for you.
I didn't prepare you for this, but what is one of your favorite questions to ask?
Well, that's a good one. I think it depends on the company, right? But I love questions about communication. Like if I'm asking a CEO, how do you communicate with the rest of your leadership team? Is it through one-on-ones? Is it through group setting? At CB we're pretty open. It's open Slack channels, open communication in the office, open office. Leadership team meets all together. So it's out in the open, and one of their things they said to me is we practice radical candor, and that was always something that is that I appreciated. You can be open and not have to worry about like a hierarchy of getting information across. So making sure the communication is there when you're interviewing for a leadership role, and also asking, like we just mentioned before, asking questions about the culture, and then getting a feel for that. You're getting a feel for the management style of your leader.
Radical candor. Who coined that?
It's in a management book, I'm sure, but that's
I haven't read that one because I haven't heard that term, but it makes sense. But it needs to be done properly, generally more so. And I think radical candor, and tell me if I'm wrong, but you can't just get on the Slack channel, rip somebody in front of the entire team, right? It's more addressing somebody one-on-one.
Yeah,
at first, right, and having that conversation and listening to the other person, and
yeah, for sure. That's not the purpose of it, to rip someone in front of the entire team.
Right. Well, radical candor, it just if you don't know what it is, it could bring all kinds of visions into your head of radical. So
yeah, no, sure. It's just kind of being direct in your communication style and not beating around the bush. And if you have an issue with whatever it is, approaching that issue head on, as opposed to going around and circumventing it to get this gentle parenting style of addressing it. And also doing the same with good information. If someone did a great job, openly, if you want to, go congratulate that person.
That's something I'm not good at. I don't know why. I expect such high things of myself, and I don't need any recognition for it, right? I don't need anybody to come say, "Hey, you did a good job." So I'm not necessarily good at doing that for other people. In fact, one of my employees today, I was like, do more. And he's like, "Hey, how about just great job today? Good work." And I was like, "Oh, if you need that too, there you go. You got it." So,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people need that positive reinforcement, right?
right. So, what would you go back and tell your younger self?
That's a great question. Because of my work ethic, because of the weight that I put on myself, I put a lot of stress on my future success. When I realize it, I always know it's going to work out for me. And I think just telling my younger self, you're doing the right thing. Just keep working hard and remember to look out for opportunity and seize it when it comes along. Don't stress about what's next. Don't put all this weight on yourself. Keep putting in the work, right? Because there's a classic saying of like when hard work meets opportunity, that's where luck lives. You want to be where luck lives, man. Put differently, I know you're a fisherman. You have to be prepared to go fishing. You can't just walk out in the stream and go catch one with your hands, or you have to wake up early. You have to put in the hours getting ready for it. You have to bait the hook. You can throw it out there. And when a fish comes along, you reel it in. But all that work you're doing now, younger John, is the right thing to be doing.
I like a quote that says, "Opportunity is often missed because it's dressed in overalls and looks like work."
I like that one too. That's interesting.
It's my hard work type of ethic. And I want to say that was Albert Einstein, if I remember right. So then let's go back and so that's what you would tell your younger self, but what advice would you give to someone starting out early on in their career that wants to achieve the CFO title? That, a little bit on what you just talked about, but is there anything else specific?
Yeah, shake a lot of hands. Make sure you're making connections. Make sure you're getting involved in the community, being a well-rounded individual, because you can be the most technically, proficient person out there. But if you have a bad attitude about it, if you don't have the connections and the mentorship around you, it's going to be a lot harder to get to where you want to be. And really just enjoying it, and reaching out to people that you enjoy hanging out with, that are smart, that are maybe not even in your industry, maybe you're not in your same career path, but those connections, you never know when they're going to come back and help you out. Yeah, that's what I would tell somebody.
Networking. So terribly important in somebody's career.
Yeah.
You never know when that person's going to come back and help you out or even ask for advice. So real quick, just because I have to ask you this, and I'm going to base it on something that, I moved my wife from Virginia. So she was always East Coast. And I moved her out to Arizona. I'm a native of Arizona, grew up here, and I think it's very beautiful. It's a very diverse state. There's so much that is outdoorsy to do here. And we were flying in. She'd been here for 1 year. And I said, "So what do you think of Arizona?" And her answer kind of took all the air out of me. She said, "It's brown." That was her answer. Not, "I love it here. It's so great. There's so much to do." It's brown. So you've been here 2 years now?
It is brown. And yeah, I've been here 2 years.
What do you think? I mean, what's that transition like? How do you describe to somebody that's not, I don't know how to describe Arizona from a non-Arizona perspective. So how do you describe it?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely brown, but I always say I've never had more easy access to the outdoors, and it's kind of a amalgamation of different cultures and different parts of the country coming together. It's for me, it's rare to meet like a native Arizonan. Is that how you even say that? Arizonanite? Arizonan,
I guess.
Yeah.
Phoenician.
Yeah, Phoenician, yeah, exactly. But yeah, I like it. You got great food in downtown. Scottsdale's obviously got great food, great restaurants. You have easy access to national parks, the outdoors. If you want to go snowboarding, I mean, the mountains are right up north in Flagstaff. We're a really close flight to Utah and Colorado. Yeah, man, it's got everything that I love here.
What's your favorite hike?
That's a good question. The one I do most often is Camelback, just for the workout. It's like an easy,
tough to beat. Yeah.
Yeah, up and down. You can get it done in an hour to hour and a half. It's just good to get the sweat in. But best hike I've ever done in Arizona was Havasupai Falls.
Cool.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
It's you're on Native American land. You're 50 miles away from the nearest road, and it's the only only native town in the country that still gets its mail on horseback. So you're really out there.
Yeah.
No cell service. The water's crystal blue, and you're hiking like 10 miles a day. Go swimming, cool off in the water. It's great. Loved it.
I should do a whole podcast about a hike that my wife and I did down to Havasupai, resulting in her needing to be helicoptered out. And to this day, in fact, she was telling this story last weekend. It's one of her favorite stories to tell, but it's basically her throwing me under the bus. But it's a great story. Yeah, Havasupai is very hard to get into as well. I think you have to plan a year in advance, something like that.
Yeah. Well, now they have I shouldn't be outing this maybe, but they have the
spotting.
Yeah, exactly. They have the cancellation list now. So if you're ready to go on a moment's notice, then you
got to be like this weekend.
Yeah, and you're a solo traveler, or if you're just a very spontaneous couple, you can do it with like a week's notice, and that's what I did. Awesome experience. I wish the helicopter was running when I was there. I was like on the one day that it wasn't, and mistimed the hike out, so it had to do like the 15 miles or whatever it is out of there in the heat in the middle of the day.
Yep.
So
you got to be prepared. I'm planning my third trip into the canyon next March, where I'm going to do rim to rim to rim.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm trying to beat
awesome.
our previous time, so I got a lot of work to do. That's a tremendous amount of training.
Yeah,
but it's an epic trip. Well, you've shared a lot with us today, and I really appreciate you coming on here, spending your time, and spreading your wisdom for all the people that are looking to be in your shoes. And you've got a long ways to go, and I really look forward to watching this journey for you and seeing what you achieve, because I think you are going to achieve really great things. So
appreciate that, Chad.
Wish you the best of luck in your career.
Thank you.
And so I'm sure that there's going to be some people that want to reach out to you and they have further questions. How would they reach out to you?
Yeah, LinkedIn's the best way. I got a pretty unique last name. There's not a lot of Mallouks that pop up, so just search me. And
Mallouk.
That's right. And shoot me a message.
Fantastic. I, for better or worse, live on LinkedIn as a recruiter. That's one of the first web pages I open up every morning. So you could definitely reach me on there, and I'll respond to you probably pretty quickly within a couple of hours. And so that's it. We're going to wrap for this episode of Financial Footsteps, and thank you very much, John.
Thanks, Chad. It was awesome.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Financial Footsteps, candid conversations with financial leaders. We encourage you to apply the knowledge and wisdom shared in these conversations to your own career. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast and leave a review. Your feedback is important to us as we continue to bring you more candid conversations and thought-provoking insights from successful financial leaders.